opposites.
Dealing with opposites. Hey Facebook, hey Instagram, can you imagine? YouTube. Hope you guys are doing good.
Opposites.
We are live. Welcome to Two Love Collective. Tonight we are going to be talking about the art of communication. We've been talking about it for about 13 weeks.
Jeez, as
like
much as that.
Every single time we come and sit down to plan and stuff, we're just like, I think there's a bit more that we can get out. Hey guys, over on Instagram, there's so much more that we can take out of this subject.
There is.
And today we're dealing with opposites. Right?
And
so
I think it's so like, as we started talking about it, we were like, nah, how did we not even think of this before?
Yeah, definitely.
Because this is like, this is what relationships, this is what people face. This is
absolutely
like the crux of it. What do you do when you're opposite to somebody that you're in a relationship with or that you're married to? You see things the opposite way. You do things the opposite way.
That's right.
I've just got so much that I want to get into, but I'm going to try and hold back. I'm going to try and pace myself to make sure that we've got all of our socials correct and accurate. So we're just checking that we're good for Facebook, just checking that we're good for Instagram, and just checking that we're good for YouTube. Hey honey, how's it going? Good to see you. And we're just making sure that you guys can hear us okay. So if you can, give us a thumbs up, give us a little wave, let us know that you can see us, you can hear us okay. Everything's live without any problems. And then we can kick off for tonight because it's a juicy one.
Yep.
And I think that we want to hear from you guys as well. It's going to be quite an open conversation today. So feel free to tap in. Feel free to ask to join the live. Feel free to share your heart, share your opinions, share what you guys experience. Because at the end of the day, like there's no set answer for how to deal with if you are opposite to your spouse or if your spouse is opposite to you, and how you manage that when it kind of gets into some conflict areas. So
absolutely,
we definitely want to hear from you guys, and we'll be keeping the chat quite open.
Definitely.
That's good. I can see that on Facebook it looks like we are good.
Yeah, almost,
and it looks like we are a go. So just a few more minutes. Just needed my Face ID. Just a few more minutes and we are going to be live.
100.
And good to go. Oh no. Trying to give us some more problems. We gotta leave it.
Yeah.
So
cool guys. Yeah. So
ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very ready. Welcome everybody.
Hey.
Sorry, we're just kind of going through our technicals. My name is Ulrich, for those of you that don't know.
And I'm Siobhan.
And if you've tuned in live today, or if you're watching this rebroadcast, this is Two Love Collective. And one of our major ethoses is believing in love again. And the whole reason why we do what we do is just to inspire the next generation, to inspire you wherever you are in your relationships, to believe in love again.
Yes.
Because wherever you are, whether positive or negative, there's always space to love that much further, that much deeper, that much longer. And everything that we talk about is just to help us to get to that place where we continually believe in love and just believe that it will get us to, that place that, God wants us to be ultimately. So thank you guys for joining us. We've been talking about the art of communication.
We have.
For quite a number of weeks, 13 weeks. And yeah, we're just super excited to talk about opposites, because you most of you have probably heard opposites attract, and most of the time that's very true. But what happens when those opposites have to now deal with conflict? What happens when those opposites begin to now take form in particular areas of your relationship? How do we now navigate the communication when opposites fires.
Yeah, they that sparks fly, people get into it. So first and foremost, I just want to say, guys, so sorry about last week. We had amazing guests on, and we had a whole heap of technical difficulties. So it really was a problem. So for any of you who missed last week, please feel free to catch up on YouTube, to catch up on Facebook. It is live there, so you can, or it is there for the replay, so you can catch up.
Absolutely.
But like Ulrich said, today we're talking about opposites. Hey guys, lovely to see you. And one of the major things that we have to remember is, in every relationship, you're hardly going to get somebody who thinks and sees things exactly the way that you do.
Absolutely.
You're very hardly going to get someone who has been brought up the same way as you, or someone who has the same opinion as you. Or they respond the same way. Like, we're just not wired that way. So then what do you do? And we want to hear from you guys. What do you do when you are a person who's spontaneous, but you're with someone who is a planner, who wants to be organised, who wants to take their time, who is quite diligent with crossing the I's and dotting the
T's.
Dotting the I's and crossing the
T's. There you
go. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with communicating with that person that you've got this idea and you think you should go for it, whereas they're like, okay, no, we need to review, we need to check through, we need to understand exactly how we're going to plan this through.
Absolutely.
Flexibility, I love it. I love it. So we've already had someone come in the chat and say, listen, flexibility.
That's true.
Flexibility. And I love the fact that you've even come with that. We're going to come back to flexibility
100%.
because we want to paint a couple of pictures.
Yeah, we need to break that down a little bit more, because what does flexibility actually mean? What does that actually look like? Because I think for different people it's different things. So if you want to elaborate, please elaborate.
Please do.
Because that'd be cool to kind of get
Nanda,
that perspective.
Come through. But yeah, and also one of the things that we wanted to also identify is when you have difficulties or when you have differences with how you handle things, how do you communicate that to each other? Like, if one person's a night owl and the other person's an early bird, how do you now plan things in?
Like, how do you do things? Like, me and Siobhan are in a season right now where we're super busy and we're having to go all hours of the night.
Yeah.
And literally I mapped my time like the other night, and I was up for 24 hours. I actually mapped it, and I said to her before we started doing the stuff that we needed to do, which was supposed to take us all night, right? I said to her, let's have a nap, because I know her. I know that when it gets to a particular time, she's done, and when she's done,
there's no communication.
There's nothing she can do. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And so I just let her sleep, and I obviously just carry on. And I said, let's nap, and she was just like, no, let's go. And it's like, literally, it's like people who do like 800 meters, right? And they're just like, I got this, and they're flying in the first leg, and they were just like, and then when they finish, it's just like, I'm done, guys. Finished. And then the guy who's been pacing,
they just come through. It's I told you, the race is not for the swift. It's for those who can endure. And I absolutely get that. I do. But I think it's also about, how do we now communicate? How do we now meet on the middle ground? Yeah. So like Nanda said, is it that we have flexibility, and then what does that flexibility look like? Who usually gives in? Who usually doesn't get their way? Is it the man who now decides because he's the head of the home? Does he get to call it? Do you flip a coin for it? Is it completely random, or actually is it no, because you are more skilled in this area?
Yeah.
So now you get to say. So I'll give you an example. Myself and Ulrich, we worked on an album in 2014.
Yep.
Now, I studied music. I have been singing since I was probably in the womb. Like, just from the get-go. From like
3-4 years old.
3-4 years old, I've just been singing. Writing, studying, playing instruments, so on and so on. Ulrich has also played instruments, not as long, but has also played instruments. Sings. We both sing, but we sing differently. I'm a technical singer, he's a melodic singer. we can go into the explanation of that another time. But we sing very differently. We both sing. So when we were now writing the album, Ulrich was like, we should do this with this song. And I'm like, no, you can't do that with that song. Because with the theory of music, it doesn't work like that. So let's just say, for example, there's 4 beats to a bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or it would be like 1, 2, 3. Let's change. 1, 2. And I'll be like, you can't stop there. It doesn't work. It's not in line with music. And he's like, well, I want to stop it there. And it was crazy to me. So do I now have the final say because I have more musical, technical knowledge and experience? Or does he get to express and explore the creativity that he's having? And then we try to find, okay, well, maybe the song shouldn't be in 4/4. Maybe it should be in 3/4. So the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 works. How do we now arrive at that
conclusion of where we go? It's true because it takes a lot of humility. Do you understand? Because I think it's one of those things where when you are confident in your experience, right? It's very difficult to hear somebody try to now change what you know, and you have already known for so many years. And it actually goes back to what we've always said, guys. Do you know what I mean? When 2 people come together, you know, there's 25 years of doing things one way and 25 years of doing it the other way.
If they're 25 years old.
If they're 25 years old, right? Getting married and coming into the house, right? So that's 50 years of experience. You've done something for 25 years.
Your way.
So it's more than a habit.
Yeah.
It's part of who you are. It's in the fabric
that is it.
of your genealogy.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And so now you're with somebody and now you're almost not forced to, but you're now exposed to the fact that here is somebody who does something completely
different to you.
Completely different. And to the point where certain times you haven't even been creative enough to even explore.
Yeah.
You're just kind of in your lane.
This is how we do it.
Do you understand? Because I remember there were certain times me and Siobhan will be arguing, right? She would generalize things. Like when we got married, she would generalize things. I can't even give you an example because there were so many. You know when there's so many, you just forget. And she would just generalize. And the thing is, I used to say to her, she didn't like it, but I was like, I've traveled a lot. Like in my lifetime, I've gone to many countries.
Yeah,
do you understand?
He says that.
One of the countries that absolutely blew me away was when I went to India. It completely humbled me because I saw, obviously being from Africa, I've seen African poverty, but when I saw Indian poverty, it shook me to my core. And so because I've traveled a lot, I've seen a lot of things. Do you understand? I've spoken to a lot of people. And at certain times, Siobhan would just be like, yeah, well, you know, I can't even think of an example.
This is why it gets me upset because he says he's travelled.
Yeah, but
now, it doesn't mean that I haven't travelled.
No, Siobhan has travelled.
But
joke. She hasn't travelled as much as me.
So let's just say...
Seeing different cultures.
No. But okay, let's just say... Ulrich has travelled to 12 places.
Oh, here we go,
Siobhan has travelled to 9 places.
You're so silly.
Like, the margin is just like... Eh.
Yeah, but those places that you've gone, I'm looking at the cultural background, the experience, because they're all different. So anyway, but yes, so that's just an example, guys, of where, you know, because of my experience traveling and, you know, speaking to different people and, you know, just trying different things. Obviously, I have that ability to be able to say, well, actually, no, because in this culture, that doesn't happen. Do you understand what I'm saying? I remember one.
The Hackney one.
No,
okay,
not the Hackney one. The gap teeth.
Okay.
Right?
Let's bring it up here then.
Right? So, Siobhan was like, you know, she thinks that, you know, was it not African people, black people. The majority of people that have a gap in the front of their teeth are black. And I said, you can't say that.
And I said
you can't say that.
How many white people have you seen with the gap?
I said exactly. How many people do you know that have gap teeth? Do you understand? And I'm sure that same week, right, we saw a model. I'm sure it was in the Vogue magazine or something. And she had a gap in her teeth.
Yes, and that model, the reason why that model is famous is because she's a rarity. She is a rarity. That's why she's actually on the front cover with her gap. Because there's not many of them that have it. But hey, guys, look, let us know. Let us know your opinions.
Yeah, don't let us be on our own, man. Opposites.
I want to hear from you. But
opposites.
First, let's go back to Nanda because I love what you've put here. So, mini daily sacrifices. Powerful. Straight away, before you get any further, mini daily sacrifices. It's not just that you made the sacrifice yesterday. It's not just that you made the sacrifice the last time. Because we can keep a little scorecard. Well, I sacrificed what I wanted the last time. But actually, are we willing to have mini daily sacrifices? I know I've got daily sacrifices. So we talk about this always in the morning. In the morning, I'm super hungry. I always want to eat something straight away. It's the first thing I want to do after brushing my teeth and everything. However, I make breakfast for the others in the house, which means I'm sacrificing what I would like so that they can be fed and then I can sit down and eat my food in peace. I can't be eating my food when my 1-year-old is looking at me like, Mummy, I'm hungry. Or my 5-year-old is saying, Mummy, is there any more bread? So on and so on. So mini daily sacrifices, I think, is about maturity and it's about being a wife, being a mother, and so on and so on. So I love what you said here. You've hit the nail on the head already. So we go on and it says, meeting each other's needs according to your love languages, living to serve one another. Now, we've done a whole series on love languages. So I love it automatically.
If you missed it, go back.
Exactly. If you missed it, please do go back and just listen really and check it out. Because when we talk about people's love languages, that's part of knowing your spouse. Yeah. So straight away, you come into them with gifts and so on and so on when you know that their love language is quality time. It's already doing something. But I love what you shared, Nanda. I think it's fantastic.
No, 100%. So how do we deal with the opposites, guys? We've given some examples of arguments that we've had in the past, you know what I mean, where we've obviously been on complete opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yes.
You know, cheering for our team, cheering for our own experience. How do we now navigate when you're basically on opposite sides?
Yeah. And
you need a decision to be made, which is essentially going to benefit both of you.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like who lets down their side to let the other person win? Hey man. And you know who sacrifices? Is it one person who sacrifices a lot? Is it the husband? Is it the wife? Or is it the female or the male?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Okay, so let's put it into an example.
Go for it.
An example that we would suggest is, what if one person is more of a spender and one person is more of a saver? So what if one person says, I think we should invest.
Ooh.
And the benefit will come down the line to both of you. The money that comes in from it will be good. The person who's a spender can see the point of the investment. The person who is a saver may be risk avert, may be like,
less risk.
I don't want to put the money in there because we could lose it.
Or we don't have access to it.
Or it could be the person who's the saver who wants to put it in there to say, right, let's not spend that money.
It's true.
Let's put it as an investment. And the spender's like, no, but we want to have access to that money that we can do what we need to do. Jeez. How do you now arrive? Because these are the conflicts that can arise. One person wants to go left and the other person wants to go right. But it's for the benefit of you both. Right. If you invest that money, it could benefit you both. If you don't invest that money, it could also benefit you both because you don't know what tomorrow holds. You don't know if something happens tomorrow with the car, you might need that money that you just finished investing and then you don't have access to it. What do you do? So
who's the risk taker?
And who has the final say? How do you make the decision? Has anyone in the chat, has anybody on who's listening been in that position, and how have you handled it? Because I think when people share light and shed light on their experiences, it helps other people when they get into that situation to either be open to hearing what their spouse or their person that they're in the relationship has to share and say and things like that.
Definitely. I think it's really important, as we're waiting for people to share their comments. I think it's really important to know where you're going. And I think we've spoken about it a lot over the past year in terms of just making sure there's a collective vision. There's an understanding of collective vision in terms of where you're going and what it is that you're trying to achieve. Because I think once that is in perspective, I think it then helps the conversations when they come, when you're on opposites. Because at the end of the day, one person might be super passionate. I'll use Siobhan's example about investing. Do you understand? Because for whatever reason, that investment may be what to do now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like an open door. It's something that's happening right now, and if we just plug in, it means that in 2 years' time, life will be completely different. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like, ultimately you guys have to come together and just be like, look, okay, so where are we actually trying to go? What are our goals? What is it that we're trying to actually achieve? And a lot of times it's like what sorry, I forgot her name. Nanda. Yeah. The daily sacrifices. Because I think even as a couple, the sacrifices that you have to make even before and after children and stuff like that, it's very intense. Do you understand? Because you're daily sacrificing maybe some of the things that you want for the sake of your children. Do you know what I mean? Whether that's schooling, whether that's, you know, buying them gifts and all of these types of things. Because I grew up seeing my mum and my dad make crazy sacrifices. Do you understand? Just so that I could have what I want. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is the maturity of obviously being in a relationship. And I think being together in terms of your decisions, in being able to say, okay, cool, I know that we said we wanted this for ourselves, we wanted this for ourselves, but right now in this season, I think this is what we need to do. Do you understand?
Definitely.
And so it's just that maturity, I guess, to come together.
And I love what you just shared there, because I think you just touched on a whole new realm. Because what do you do in your opposites with regards to raising children? So one is more authoritarian and the other is more passive. One is more I'm gonna beat this child. The other is more I'm gonna speak to the child and deal with the child in a way that, do you get what I mean? You can't. You never even thought anyone would speak to the child like that. What do you do in those situations?
Because we dealt with that before we got married, didn't we?
And
Siobhan thought I was gonna be some child beater boy. And all it was, and I think it was us just getting to know each other, wasn't
bad
it?
Cop. Yeah, I love it.
You know what I mean? Because I was very much like, look, they've got to be in shape. Do you know what I mean? They've got to be. It was very much discipline and all that kind of stuff. And certain times, you know, when you just hear, you know, your wife's voice is just like, but Ulrich, you know, like she used to come to me with this kind of, you know, like I was gonna like abuse the child.
No,
I'm just like, what?
Do you know what it was? Because
and you should see her today. You should see her today.
Ulrich spoke about children, I was like, yeah, because discipline, because because when I was growing up, my parents didn't play. When I was growing up, I had to be at the breakfast table at 7 a.m. having washed, having done this, and I was like, okay, this is what happens when you come from Africa and you come to the UK and there's a certain way you're gonna run the thing. Okay, but it sounds a bit heavy. Anyway,
so what's happening now?
To say, no, because needless to say,
okay, then.
Ulrich's point was, by the time your child is free, they best know. They best be locked in shape, because if it's not under control by the time they're free, it's too hard. You're wasting your time. You lost them. So
I learned.
Cyrus is 1 and Matthias is 5, and I'll tell you what, we're still working.
Yeah, we're still working through.
We're still working.
But they're not wayward though.
No, they're not wayward.
And that's what I was afraid of.
Not at all.
Because I've seen some 3-4-year-olds on the train. God forbid. God forbid.
But I think obviously we both got a middle ground on that.
Yes,
and we've both
definitely.
got an agreement.
And we had to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because that was although we joke about it now, that was a real opposites.
Yes, it was.
Do you understand? Because at the time, and I think this is it as well. It's because we hadn't experienced it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was
because
the unknown.
sometimes when we talk about things, we're not even there yet.
Yeah. And you're trying to foresee, okay, so how are we going to handle this? How are we going to deal with this or relate to this? And I love what Abby said, because she said she's actually the main disciplinarian.
Wow.
But her husband speaks calmly to them.
That's good.
And I love the fact that usually people say, wait till your daddy gets home. You know, that kind of stuff. And it's just like... But actually, that's not always the case for every home. It's
absolutely. You got to do what works.
Exactly. You got to do what works. But I love what you shared about the difference in how we see raising our children.
Yes.
And how we communicate to each other. Because
that
there
can be
are
hard.
times that I've come back to Ulrich to say, no, you're going too far. Come on.
That was a bit hard.
Like, come on.
Yeah. And I've even learned to say, was that too much?
And we have to be open with each other to have that.
Yeah.
And not get angry. Like, I would never, when he's telling off Matthias or someone or Cyrus. I would never turn around in front of them and say, no, you're going too far. No, that's not the appropriate time or place.
But she will try to save them though. she tries to come in like Superman, boy.
No, there are times when it's like,
I'm
who did that? No. No. Hold on. That wasn't them. That wasn't him.
Oh, I'll call the wrong name. Jeez. It wasn't me, Daddy. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me, it was Cyrus.
Too funny, man. So
and
funny.
then Cyrus is one. You can't be giving him links like that. So he kind of gets away with it. But the point of it is, we have learned how to back each other up.
Yeah.
But also, behind closed doors, be like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have done this, but maybe it could have been handled a bit differently.
I love what Abby said. Funny enough, they fear him more because of his calmness.
You see that? Because you don't want to mess with him. It's one of those ones. He's always calm, but if you cross him...
Yes! Come on.
Finished.
Come on.
Parenting is trial and error.
Trust
Absolutely.
me, it very much
Absolutely.
is.
You learn as you go. Because you never thought it would be... And I'm going to be honest. I mean, we did a whole parenting series last year. And we were talking about, it's not right to take your anger out on your child. Yeah. And when you've had a really frustrating day. And I kid you not, there are days recently, we've had times where we've barely had much sleep. And I mean like
2
hour
hours.
and a half, 2 hours for the whole night. And this child in our house, I'll tell you, the grace of the Holy Ghost is stopping any eruption in us. Like he would spill his drink, he'd knock over his brother, he'd break something, he'd run into something, and you'd be like...
The laying on of hands was just not what God was saying to do at that point.
But everything was trying to come up so that we would be in our frustration and in our tiredness and in everything else that's going on. You end up taking it out and you're like, nah, do you know what? That actually shouldn't have gone that far.
It's true.
And I thank God that day he didn't hold no links.
Listen,
because it would have been a problem.
It would have been deep.
Exactly. And like you said, Abby, kids quickly pick up when parents are not on the same page. Yeah. So we have to make sure we are continually checking ourselves, continually coming back to each other to reaffirm. Yeah. Or like... So let's say, or it will come to me and say, was I too hard on him? And I'll be like, no, not at all. Because I spoke to him about it last week. 2 days ago, in fact.
This morning.
And he's still doing it. So who deserves? Or, do you know what? I think bearing in mind that X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, and it's having the two perspectives to assess like where things are at. Do you know what I mean? Like today, for example, he was acting up a little bit. He wasn't really concentrating and all that kind of stuff. And we generally had a busy, day today. Do you know what I mean? And then it just dawned on me, just like, boy, you went to bed really late because he's off this week. You went to bed really late, and then you woke up like 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's now like 4 or 5 o'clock. He's tired. He's mash.
You're tired.
Do you know what I mean? And so it's all of these types of things where you come together.
Yeah.
And you just bounce off each other. Yes. Do you know what I mean? Because one person might be getting frustrated because of obviously the day they're having.
Yeah.
and then one person is able to be like, you know what, it's okay.
No,
this is probably why.
Let me just.
And then it just works. And I think it's like, I think the main thing with working with opposites is understanding that although you may be on opposite sides of whatever decision that it is that you're trying to make, you are still a partnership.
Yes.
And partners don't always have to agree in all things. Do you know what I mean? What we need to agree on is the destination.
Yeah.
Where we're actually trying to go. The Bible says, "Can two walk lest they agree?" So that agreement is about where you're going, the final destination, what you're trying to achieve as a couple. Do you know what I mean? The little things along the way, those are things that you have to kind of grapple with and do your best to deal with, and actually look at it from a bird's eye view to kind of be like, is it really worth this? Or is it really worth us arguing? Or is it really worth all of the complications that may come around whatever decision that you're trying to make?
I think, like, what we're talking about, it transcends all things. It goes, like, throughout it all. If one of you attends a church and the other one doesn't,
Woo!
Or if one of you wants to leave a church and the other one doesn't,
Woo!
Or if one of you,
I know a few people like that,
want to serve in a ministry area and the other one doesn't want you to serve in that ministry area, or one of you wants to progress in your career and do certain things or change career paths and the other one doesn't, you know, like, how do we now arrive at solid places that we can communicate? Actually, I want to take a year off, but financially
we're not there yet.
We can't afford it, but I feel like I need it, so I need you to carry the load of the house.
Jesus.
Like, can we communicate that to each other? Can we be opposites? Can we like, what if you're the one that does all the cleaning and the other one doesn't help or pitch in that respect? What if you do make like most of the child rearing and the other person doesn't? The opposites can, after a while, it can wear you down. Because if you feel like you're always the one who is doing something, you're the only one cooking, or you're the only one cleaning, or you're the only one saying let's pray, because that grates on relationships. So how do you now communicate?
It's good.
I don't always want to be the person who does it. I don't always want to be the one that says, can we pray? I don't always want to be the one that says, are we fasting? Or can I be the one that says, I'm not fasting today? Like, I get all of it, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, how do we communicate with our significant other, with our spouse?
Yes.
When actually, we see things differently.
Yeah.
We are seeing things. We want to do the opposite. And how do we now stop ourselves from getting frustrated?
Yeah.
So,
true.
Prime example: if I'm somebody who's quite loud, and then I do something, and then one of our children does something, but that loud thing irritates the other person who wants the peace and quiet, is that now hindering my child from their expression, or is that teaching them bad habits?
It's true.
Because in one person's eyes, that loud thing,
it's too much because it doesn't work with their temperament.
Exactly. Whereas on the flip side, express yourself. Do your thing.
It's true.
These are the things that marriages clash on.
Definitely.
And after a little while, when there's too many jagged clashes that keep coming up, you can develop a disdain. You can develop a tolerance. Yeah, a resentment. It's like, I tolerate this. Wow. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. I wish it could change. I never forget, there was a couple that we knew, and one person was a homebody. Didn't want to go out with. This is way before lockdown. Didn't want to go out, didn't want to go and meet and be around social people and do all of those different things, whereas the other person is outgoing, people's person. When they step in the room lights up, everyone wants to talk to them. What do you do when one person wants to be in the background?
Jeez.
And their partner or their husband or their spouse is right in the center?
Jeez.
Do you now pull yourself out of the background into the center to be in there with them, the introverts and the extroverts, as Nanda has said?
Yeah.
Do you pull yourself to be in there when it's so uncomfortable for you?
Jeez.
Or do you pull your spouse out of their expressive nature to pull them into your just sit down and be quiet? And for them to sit down and be quiet is like, it's killing me.
Exactly. I need to say something. You know, I think that's so powerful, you know? Like, it's so powerful.
Are we forcing our spouses to change for us?
Because, and this is why when we posted on our stories today, we said that, you know, loads of people say opposites attract. Do you know what I mean? And apparently, not apparently, but it's a very powerful attraction. Do you know what I mean? When you're opposites, kind of. Do you know what I mean? But the reality is,
what do you do
what do you actually do when you have to live with the opposite? Because that's crazy. Like, you've raised some serious points, Siobhan. Do you know what I mean? Which are just like, wow, that's tough. Because essentially, because, you know, sometimes, you know, when we talk about relationships and marriages and say, we generally say that, you know, you're not there to change the person, but indirectly, by being married, because marriage is a mirror, you are indirectly changing.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because through Christ, we're supposed to be transforming, and our spouse is there as an indicator that we haven't arrived. And so there's a continual molding that needs to take place. But I think after time, because, you know, it's something that Bishop John Francis shared back in the day when him and Pastor Penny back in the day, and Pastor Penny was very reserved and all that kind of stuff. And I remember when he testified to say, when she started to preach and he started to like, he was like, what's going on? Like, this was this reserved woman, and now she's preaching up a storm to the point where, you know, people are wanting to hear what she's saying, you know? And so I feel like there's always a kind of metamorphosis that happens sometimes. And I think that comes with pulling each other as well, like encouraging each other. Because I remember back in the day when we got married, I wasn't a very confident singer. Wasn't confident at all. Do you understand? Loads of insecurities. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Siobhan pulled me up.
Yeah.
Do you understand? She dragged me through. Do you understand? Because before we even released our first album, we were working on her album. And I said to her, look, I'm cool just being a BV. I BV'd up her stuff. It was nice. Do you understand? And then it's like God started speaking about this collective thing. I'm like, nah.
It's not a BV. We're standing together next to each other, side by side.
So then it became something else. So I think also in it is also the willingness.
Yes.
The willingness to adopt traits. And I say that very carefully because it's not necessarily that you now need to become what your spouse is.
That's it.
But when you're with them long enough, there's particular things that you can adopt from them.
Yeah,
do you understand?
learn.
Like for me, there's a particular level of confidence that I now have that I've developed for myself, but I got that from Siobhan because she's very much an outspoken person. You know, she speaks her mind, you know, and all of that stuff, and I love that about her. Do you understand? Whereas for me, because of some of the experiences that I had growing up, it kind of put a dampener on that side of my personality. Do you understand? And it's only, you know, within the last decade that I've been able to actually come out of that box and be able to express myself. So now we kind of tag. Do you understand? It's almost like who's going in on this one and who's going in on that one. Even when it comes to business and negotiating, it's like, because she's the better negotiator. Do you understand? I'm more the people's kind of person, the aftercare. Do you know what I mean? I'll email them back and say, you know, but she's the person who connects with them and like, yeah, this is what we're doing and da. Like, she's a salesperson. I hate sales. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. Do you understand? However, what I've learned over the years though is how to switch it on if I need to. Do you understand? Because I can't just be in the back and just let Siobhan just run the thing. And that's not a pride thing. Do you understand? It's a destination thing because we're in this together. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So yeah, my wife is quiet. I want to scream on my room.
And I love what Rev said.
I need to get my wife to pray in the loft
with me. Love it. So I love what Rev has said here, because at the end of the day, his wife, and I love his wife, when you meet her, she's not, like, those two are a prime example where he is quite outspoken, whereas his wife is not as outspoken in that kind of environment. However, when you speak to her, you'll hold big conversation. But I understand when you have these differences, it can now affect how you do what you would normally do.
That's true.
And I know, like Ulrich has said, there are things that I've had to adopt from him. Whereas I would normally do it like this. And now I'm able to reflect and be like, every time you've done it like this, what has the outcome been? So maybe we need to take a leaf out of his book and try it his way. And then you try it that way and you're like, Jesus, it was so hard to try that, I tell you. It was so hard. It was so hard not to do what I normally would have done in that time. However, look at the outcome. And I'm not saying that you have to change who you are.
Absolutely.
But I do think, like you said, there is wisdom in learning from and adopting the traits and some of the things that our spouses are doing, our partners, because at the end of the day, there is a reason why they have chosen to do things like that.
Yeah, of
there
course.
is an outcome that it gets. So sorry, just gonna read up.
And it's all part of the complementing as well. Do you know what I mean? It's what helps you be the team. And I think if we were the same person, it just couldn't work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I've spoken to a number of, females and guys, and just like, I just wish that, she was a bit like me, like just, tidy like me. And it's just like, well, no. Because if she was like you, okay, yes, that area of tidiness wouldn't be an issue, but there'll be other issues.
Do you
understand what I'm saying? Because because my thing is, how can you expect somebody to be like you when they haven't lived a day in your shoes? Like, they haven't had your upbringing, your parents, your home life growing up, whether you were bullied or whether you bullied, whether, you know what I mean, you had money when you were younger, whether you had pocket money and you didn't have pocket money. Like, how can you expect the person to be you? And it's frustrating because obviously we all feel that way. Oh, I just wish, she could just do it like this. Life would just be just a little bit more organised, But
what are you trying to say?
Nothing, honey, you're doing really well, But it's, it's like, it's a powerful thing. But I think, again, at the core of it, it's the maturity, to understand that, she's different and she's going to do things differently and she's going to see it differently. And sometimes that is annoying. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, why do you do that? Why do you see it that way? But
and that's just it. So when you actually get to, that is the complete opposite of how I would do something. How do we now communicate that?
Yeah.
Because you now, in that frustration, why do you do that? Because blah 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 blah. That can now be offensive.
Yeah, it's true.
To the person.
It's true.
They do what they do out of. It's innate. It's natural. It's how they operate.
Definitely.
They don't even have a choice in the matter. It's how they're wired. So
I think it's just it's also suggesting as well, because I think we've done that in the past where we've kind of just been like, well, like I've said, babe, when you're doing this, can you do it like this? Do you understand? Yeah. It just kind of helps, things just be better organized. Do you get what I'm saying? And I've had to say that sometimes, a few times. Do you understand? Over the years, like she has with me, where I forget stuff and I don't do things the way that she does them because I'm just like, fam.
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to the communicating. It's how you communicate, because we've always said it's not what you say,
it's how you,
but it's how you say it. So it's making sure that love element is there, that patience is there, and trying to make that genuine, because the fact of the matter is, a lot of the time why arguments kick off is because what you're saying is said in frustration.
Yes.
And so it now breeds offense.
Yes.
And so now it goes to another place.
Exactly.
So it's how to be frustrated but calm down and actually communicate. What is it that you like to say? Don't respond.
Don't react.
Don't react.
Respond.
Do you know what I mean?
So take the time to calm down and then come back to the person because you love this person. You don't want to upset them. You don't go out of your way to make sure they're unhappy. You want to actually go out of your way to improve whatever the two of you are working on. So you're coming back to them in love to suggest or express how something that they did has made you feel, or what they've said has made you feel. And I love like what Abby has said, because she's actually said she has become a lot bolder. She is more confident just because her husband exudes a quiet confidence. He doesn't have to shout from the rooftops his confidence, but the way that he is automatically has a reigning strength that now affects how people deal with him and how he sees different situations and how he interacts with people. And naturally that's now rubbing off on Abigail, so that when she now interacts with somebody or something, that confidence is there.
Yeah, man.
It's powerful.
Trust me, it's very, very powerful. And I think that's the power of relationships. Do you know what I mean? When you set the right foundation.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to exude your authority over or
Yes.
trying to prove a point. And don't get me wrong, we've all been there. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's in our arguments, whether it's in, you know, our fear of losing ourselves or losing our identity, our ability to make our own decisions.
Yeah.
Because that leaving and cleaving, it's a very difficult thing for many people. People think that, oh yeah, it will be fine. But actually, it's a real thing.
It is.
Do you understand? Leaving your mother's home and your father's home and cleaving to this guy who you've known for a couple of minutes, compared to your parents where you've had security. For those of us that have had consistency and security and all of that kind of stuff, it's a difficult thing. And sometimes you don't even know until you're faced with a situation, because some situations will come which will just rock your foundation and you just think, oh, I thought I was submissive. I thought I was, but actually I don't really like the fact that, you know, I make more money but yet I can't spend it. Like, say what now? Wait, I get given £100 allowance when I make $3,000 a month. Like, excuse me, what? But what did I say at the beginning? The destination.
Yeah, what you're working towards.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
And what kind of lifestyle are you going to have on the way?
Yeah. And I think, like, the main thing that we're trying to get to with this whole series and with the art of communication is how do we communicate to one another? Yeah. Are we thinking about these things? Because a lot of the time, sometimes we get into some disagreements or we get into problems that could have been avoided had we taken a bit of time and just said, you know what, Holy Spirit, help me with how I'm communicating with my spouse. Help me with how I'm communicating with my boyfriend or my partner or whoever it is. Help me to not react but respond. Help me to see their perspective. Help me to communicate effectively. Help me to not let my face show some of the things, because 100%. The facial expressions, they can cause a whole heap of problems. The neck business.
Oh, Lord God.
The body language, it can get us into a whole new problem.
The neck movement.
All of it it starts something that it should not have gone into, but it could have been avoided. From the minute we open our eyes in the morning, rather than checking our Instagram or our WhatsApp or whatever our emails are saying, our Twitter feed, actually saying, you know what, Holy Spirit, please help me today. Help me today to communicate with my wife and my husband effectively in love. Help me to see where they're coming from, and actually help me to be mindful of what they're experiencing. Because I know when Ulrich's having a heavy day, because of the position that he holds, he does a lot. When he's having a heavy day, he may react in frustration or in any kind of situation, as people do, because you're going through different pressures. But how do I not take his action
as personal? Yeah.
Because how we deal with things, it comes down to the opposite. Some people, when they're stressed, they lash out. Some people, when they're stressed, they implode, they take it in. We are different with how we respond to one another and how we express it. But just because we are different, it doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong. Nor does it mean that if they react and express their anger and they need to vent and get it out, and then one person doesn't vent, it doesn't mean that their expression of venting is wrong. That's their release. It's them now that need to communicate how, or get in control how they vent, how they release that. They can't be like verbally abusing you or anything like that. No. But if they need a few minutes just to get it off their chest, sometimes we just need to be that sounding board. But like, Nanda, you're on fire today. You're on fire today. Communicate effectively in love. So us understanding, they need to just get this off their chest, and I need to just listen. I don't even need to put in an opinion or a directive or an instruction
or a solution.
I could just listen. Let them vent.
Yeah, I hear you now. It's true. It's out of order.
You tell we've been here before.
Because it's true, man. Because sometimes you just have to connect with each other. Because I think that, I mean, boy, we'll probably go into that in another season about listening.
Ooh.
Because it's a deep thing.
Are you really listening?
Because sometimes people can say things and be like, you know, like almost like, oh, what happened again? Oh, okay, yeah. Almost like okay.
Yeah,
like,
to brush
be quiet
them.
and go, and it's just like, yeah, you do that a few times, but
it's disrespectful.
It's not. It's
a problem.
It's not resentment. Just building. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys have got something out of that today.
Yeah.
We've been talking about dealing with opposites. For those of you who have tuned in a little bit later, it's been really insightful. Just really looking at, you know, the whole thing around, you know, opposites attract, but actually what happens when those opposites now take place within particular areas in your relationship. How do we deal with that? And how do we come together so that we can go to the same destination? So if you have missed it, definitely do kind of rewind or just rewatch from the beginning. And I hope that it will be a blessing to you.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for connecting. You could have been watching Prime, could have been watching Disney, could have been watching Netflix.
That's right.
But you guys decided to be with us.
Thank you.
Seriously, guys, from the heart, we truly appreciate it. So guys, if you haven't liked our pages, follow it, share it with somebody.
Absolutely.
Please do so. For those of you on Facebook and YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Click like, share the videos, because we're really hoping that something in this will be able to help somebody at some point in their relationship journey.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you. We're going to be here next week with another topic. God will surely lay on our heart what we're going to talk about. We're itching to go to well, we're not really itching, but
then we've got a new topic that
we've got a new topic that we want to start, and it's just like,
are we really finished? Have we wrapped up the art of communication?
Because there's so many little
pockets. And
pockets
I didn't
of
even
goodness.
remember that. But yeah.
Oh man, but we're definitely going to be here regardless of what happens. Thank you guys so much for your contributions.
Yes.
Thank you for your comments. Again, we appreciate it because it just helps us, you know, to pull out this these topics that we come up with, and it's really great to hear other people's perspectives. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Have a blessed evening, and we will see you guys next week. All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
God bless. Bye.